Hey everybody, hope you guys are doing well today. I'm doing fabulous. I just wanted to show you guys some really cool tips and techniques for use in creating abstract watercolor designs. So the materials that we have that we're going to use today, we're going to have a cup or a jar of water. We're going to have a dropper if possible. Watercolor brushes, which are brushes that have very soft bristles, and a rag for dabbing wet paper. We're going to have some varieties of ink. We have something called liquid watercolors. These are awesome, but this project can be done with other watercolors as well. As long as we have water, we can make this pretty cool and fun. I have salt. I have some alcohol, and I don't use very much of this, but just a little bit. I've had this forever, by the way. Then I have a palette with some liquid watercolors. And you want to add a little bit of water to them. Liquid watercolors come in jars that last forever. I've had this for a really long time. It's a beautiful color. You don't need to add water if you don't want to. We also want to have some masking tape, watercolor paper. So watercolor paper has a unique property. It's kind of bumpy, and it has sort of a fibrous feeling, and it allows itself to absorb more. So if you use like copy paper or poster board, it's not going to absorb the same way. And one of the processes we're going to do today is called wet on wet, and it doesn't, you can't get the same effect unless you're on watercolor paper. Pretty cheap, and you can find it at any craft store. So first, you want to tape your paper to some kind of board. I use cardboard. I happen to have these artboards around. They're really nice. You can just use cardboard or something laying around your house. So you want to tape it all the way around. And as you do that, you want to leave a little bit of space here. You want to tape over the edge just a bit, and if you do that all the way around, you get a really cool frame. I'm going to go ahead and tape all the way around, and we will get started. So I love this way of kind of displaying whatever art I create on this paper by taping it around the edge. It's a really cool effect. Okay, first I'm going to show you just what wet on wet means. So it basically means wet paint on wet paper. So first, I'm going to try several different things on this one piece of paper here so you guys can see. I want to take my brush and just paint some of the paper with water. So I'm just painting with water right here. All right, I'm going to take my dropper, and I'm going to just take a little bit of paint in. So this is what happens. That's wet on wet, basically. So this is just one simple example of wet paint on wet paper, and this is called a bloom. Sometimes it's fun to just cover your paper in water and add lots of blooms, and I like to put this back in. And to clean it out, just suck in the paint, the water, and then get rid of it. All right, so that's, here's, I'm going to do a few other blooms too. Kind of pretty. All right, so that's some basic wet on wet blooms. And you can also do this with a brush. You don't need a dropper at all. And as your paper dries, it's not going to spread like that. So it only works when your paper is wet. So now I'm going to take some water and just kind of the edge of where I stopped with the water before, and just add a little more. I'm going to spread it out. And this is just water. You can also take some paint and spread it that way. I really like abstract watercolor because it tends to spread in ways that I think are really interesting, and I can't always control how it does that. And I actually really like that I can't control it. I like to kind of respond to what the materials do. I'm just mixing now. And another cool watercolor experiment. This is just basic wet on wet. And by the way, people use this technique to create like textures in nature scenes or in other watercolor paintings they may do with a little more, you know, focus on a subject. I'm going to add some more color here. And I'm going to show you guys another texture you can get. And it's by using salt. You guys see what's happening there? This only works if the paper is wet. And sometimes the paint will kind of travel around the grains of salt. And what happens, the grains of salt absorb the paint over time. And once this piece is dry, I'll be able to brush off the salt and see sort of white or lighter colored dots where the salt was. It absorbed the water and paint. So it's a really cool effect, and you can see it begin to happen here. So some of the effects you'll get will be dark dots and then light dots. So what it's doing now, see how the dark dots are where the salt is? It's absorbing all the paint. And then when you brush it off, you'll leave a light spot behind. It's a really cool technique, and this looks kind of like water. I've done sort of nature scenes this way, but it's really beautiful. This whole piece is kind of fun. I like this. All right, so now what we want to do, I'm going to change to a new board. And I'm going to let this one move off to the side. So this board, I'm going to actually mix a color. I'm going to take some blue, put it in a new spot, a little bit of water, clean my dropper out, and then add a little bit of yellow. See what color I'm getting. It's a pretty green. And I'm just going to paint my paper. I'm doing it quickly because I don't want it to dry. My brush being a soft brush, it allows me to kind of paint roughly like this, but generally speaking, I like to be a little more deliberate. All right. And I'm going to, you know what, I'm actually going to add a little blue in there just to keep it interesting. So again, you can do this with watercolors that are in a tray. They don't have to be liquid watercolors. As long as you have water to add, you should be able to get a lot of these same effects. I'm just going to make this a little. So now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you put alcohol drops. So look at that. That's so cool. You go more delicate. I don't want to influence what you guys might see this looking like, but I gotta tell you, it looks like jellyfish to me. It's really cool. Love it. So this is just alcohol. And look, I hardly used any. So now I'm going to, if my paper's still wet, show you what it looks like to put ink on it. So I'm going to so you guys can look at that effect. All right. So now I'm going to use some ink. This is P.H. Martin's Bombay ink. It's amazing. I love it. I'm going to put, yes, I love this so much. The ink is a stronger pigment, stronger color, and so it shows up really bright on top of the watercolor. So I'm going to just squeeze very gently and drag the dropper. where the alcohol is, it's dried the paper, but where it's still really wet. Isn't that awesome? I love this. So this is a fun little abstract design, by the way. So experimenting with these will still give you a really cool piece, and a lot of times what I'll do is cut this up and make cards with it. So I never consider it wasted. And I like this kind of art. I don't have a plan, which is also kind of fun. Especially today, there's a lot that's out of our control, and this is something that gives me beautiful results even with the lack of full control. All right, one more fun technique I'm going to show you guys, and I'm going to trust you to get a result, and I'd love for you to post it, because right here in this video, you're not going to see the full result of this. So this next one I'm going to show you what it's like to do a plastic wrap print. This is really cool. All you need, watercolor paper, some paints. You don't need to have the liquids, by the way, and a recycled plastic bag. All right, so what I'm going to do is I actually want to quickly paint this. So I'm going to take my dropper and just pull up paint and just start adding it. So on dry paper, you see how it doesn't spread, right? So I'm going to just add paint here. And I keep going to blue and green, huh? Or blue and yellow. Sometimes you just kind of are drawn to the same colors. That's okay. Go with it. I'm going to kind of cover the paper. I definitely like to do this with if I'm going to paint quickly like this with a lot of paint, I want to choose colors that I know when they mix aren't going to make mud. Here, I'll just do that. So colors that you know will mix another color. Pretty good. If I put the magenta color in here, it may have made more of a brown. So I'm sticking to these colors for now. Okay, now I'm going to do a little more ink again. I have these other colors here, but for some reason I really want to do this magenta, so this stuff is awesome. Cherry red, magenta, potato. All right, so I'm going to just do blooms. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a plastic bag and I want to spread it. I don't want to open it up all the way. I want it to stay crinkled. So I'm going to put this here on this paper, and then I take a book or something heavy and weigh it down. And what this does, this is going to create a really, really cool geometric kind of design where the paint is going to pool up where the plastic touches the paper. And then it is going to leave that as this paper dries. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to see your experiment results. If you guys want to post them, I would love to see them. Share them with me. And I look forward to seeing your results.